And welcome back to Cinema Vino. It's good to have you guys here with us.
Your recipe for Spanish rice is just add butter.
It's award-winning. Yeah.
Damn.
Brought that in the Spanish club in high school and knocked their socks off. So
a Spanish club.
Yeah. Abajo. So this is part 2 of our Sci-Fi series. We're going to look at Alien, the OG. If you go back into our archives, you'll find our episode for Aliens during our
sequel series.
Yeah, we were looking at part 2s. And so if you go back and find that, you can listen to that and hear our opinions on that. That is a completely different movie than this one in terms of tone, budget, style, director, writers, everything. The one carryover is Sigourney Weaver as Ripley.
Hell yeah.
Everything else has pretty much changed. But yeah, so, and it's interesting to compare that film to this one and their overall tone, style, and what we think of it. But for this one, I went for a little bit of an unorthodox thing to pair with it. I went for a wine that's high in acid.
I need you to read this as, I want you to say the name of what it is.
This is Leonard Kreusch. This is a Peach Porter Goldtrofen Riesling Cabinet. And yes, you were correct. It is wainscoting.
Peach Porter
Goldtrofen Cabinet
Riesling.
Yes, Riesling.
Good job.
Yeah. But yeah, this is going to be, I'd say this is off dry. It's not overly sweet.
No.
If you're going for like a spate lace and then an ounce lace, you're going to get like more and more sweetness as you go along.
I've said it before about Rieslings. There's like a smell that takes me back to being a kid, smelling like fishing lures, like the rubber fishing lures.
Petroleum, yeah.
It's that petroleum scent that like I get off of Riesling sometimes.
Yeah.
This definitely has
especially
like
the German
grassy petroleum scent.
Yeah. I got that too. This definitely has that petroleum, like you say, rubbery taste to it. That's going to put it, I think, more of an acquired taste for a lot of people. Yeah. Probably a lot of people are going to hear that and think, no, I don't want that. But
it doesn't sound appealing when you say it, but it's fine.
I think it'll grab you, I think, a little more when you taste it, and especially if you do it with the right food.
When it'll shocks your palate right off that first sip.
Yeah.
Like you taste it and you smell it, especially. It's like that aromatic.
Well, especially
once it kind of like coats your tongue, you don't taste it as much.
Yeah. Our previous episode, we were pretty much drinking, gasoline. It was high in alcohol. That was like napalm for the taste buds. I think pretty much anything you drink after that's going to shock your system.
Yeah.
But my thing was like, well, ordinarily I would say we would have done Alien first and drank the white, but it's like I didn't have time to get this chilled to the right amount. So it's like, well.
It's also got like a minerality to it. Like it's a little, not like a fizz, but just enough of a tingle.
Yeah. I enjoy it.
Just a little tingle?
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
It's like I remember when people were always like, oh, what do you mean rubber? You mean, like, what do you think it smells like? I'm like, well, because I'm old, in my opinion, but it's like when you used to get one of those little like rubber balls out of like the machine, like that's the rubber.
You kind of
like the quarter machine.
Yeah, it's like exactly. Those balls with the rubber. It's like it's not. Those
are delicious.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like it's like that's the type of smell, like that fresh rubber.
Yeah,
it's like we're not talking like tire. Someone spinning tires.
It's not like it's not burnt rubber.
Yeah,
it's the smell of like rubber that's been packaged and like in an airtight container for
fresh
a while.
Grocery store rubber balls.
Yeah,
exactly. And you tell me you didn't eat those, I'll say you're a liar.
Yeah,
the tasting note that every wine wants.
Yeah.
No, it's fishing lures for me. That's the nostalgia. It smells like a Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah, I get that. I get both of those completely. Yeah, probably $15 at your local wine store. Not a bad purchase. So
you can tell it's German because it's in a Rhine flute.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a pretty green bottle. As a lot of Germans have that kind of tall, like you say, green bottle to them. Yeah, but delicious. I enjoy this a lot. And then the bottle says it goes well with grilled salmon. I'm not a salmon guy. I don't know about you guys.
I would not drink this with salmon.
Yeah, I'm not a seafood guy in general, but I'm especially not a salmon guy. It's too fishy.
This needs to be with something buttery, like a cod or like popcorn.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, get you a Riesling and a popcorn.
Riesling and popcorn sounds delicious.
Oh, yeah. A little sweet and salty.
Drink the shit out of that.
Oh, yeah. Make a night out of it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Watching a movie?
Yeah.
Cozy up on a blanket?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I would recommend this highly for somebody who's looking for kind of an off-dry white wine.
So you wanted this because it was acidic.
Acidic, because we were dealing with a xenomorph.
Yeah.
Who creatures who have acid for blood. These movies are highly acidic, and usually the acid for blood is a plot point of these films. So, acid for blood, and you can drink yourself a little acid while you're at it. Have yourself some reflux. So, enjoy on us. So, Alien came out May 25th, 1979.
Damn.
This was just another movie and a part of a sci-fi renaissance, which started in the wake of Star Wars. This particular one leans heavily on horror elements. Horror elements. And part of the studio pitch that was made for it was, it is Jaws in space. That's how it was sold to executives.
Because Jaws came out in what, 76? 75?
This grossed $187 million against an $11 million budget. This was a huge hit for that time period. This received a very lukewarm reception from critics, many of whom now regard it as one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made. It has grown in opinion a lot since then. This was followed by many sequels, prequels, crossovers, and these will vary greatly in tone and quality. The most successful of these was obviously Jim Cameron's Aliens. Some people will even argue that sequel is better than this one. So
I would say as a horror movie, it's better.
Yeah.
As a sci-fi movie, this one's better.
Yeah. And I would say the second one holds up better as an straightforward action movie.
As straightforward action.
Big. Yeah. It really recast Ripley as almost a Rambo style.
Yeah. I think I misspoke. I said horror, but it's more of like you said, action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it has the monster elements of a horror movie, more of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Almost zombie-esque.
Yeah.
It's mowing down hundreds of aliens like cannon fodder.
Yeah.
Whereas at this one, it's one alien's enough to rip the ship to pieces.
Yeah, just devastating, but cast of 7.
Yeah. And it's the second one, it recasts Ripley, gives her a machine gun, a grenade launcher, a flamethrower.
Mech.
And yeah. It's she is Rambo. So
full disclosure, I watched the Blu-ray of this. It was the director's cut, and I watched it with the director's commentary. So I've got a bunch of nuggets just locked and loaded that I'm ready to unload here.
So for anybody who has not seen this movie, just a quick recap. It is set many years in the future in deep space. You have the crew of 7 people at a space tug called the Nostromo, who get awakened from hypersleep to explore a potential distress signal from a remote alien world. They land on this planet. They encounter a nightmare scenario where they see the corpse of a dead alien who's obviously been mauled by something, and then an entire chamber filled with hundreds, maybe thousands of mystery eggs. One of these people in this crew goes down there, explores it, and again,
slips. He just kind of accidentally falls down there. He's like, "Oh, there's a bunch of eggs down here."
I thought it was fake at first.
Yeah.
I was like, "What kind of fall is that?"
Yeah, I did too.
I don't know if you know this. It was acting.
Yes.
And so John Hurt plays Kane. He gets a little too close to the eggs. It hatches, and what will be known later as a face hugger bursts out and attaches itself to his face. And in what will become one of the most iconic scenes ever, this thing bursts out of his chest, or it spawns an alien, bursts out of his chest, and the thing grows rapidly and runs wild on the ship. But before that, you get what I would think of now, especially now rewatching a series of some of the dumbest decisions in sci-fi history. Yeah. Where these people bring this guy with a massive squid monster attached to his face on board their ship.
But they do rationalize it with the whole B plot of the science officer being a replicant, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's tasked to do the company's bidding. And the first order of bidding is, if you find a fucking alien, you get it, you keep it alive, no matter where the cost.
Yeah.
And so you have Ripley as the one voice of reason on this situation, where she's like, no, we can't bring that thing on board.
Yeah, that's a bad fucking idea.
Yeah, he can't come on board. If he does, he has to be quarantined, yada, yada, yada. But even then, you have the captain who does the dumbass decision of let's try and poke and prod this thing and zap it with lasers and see if it'll let go.
Yeah, let's just fucking hack at it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this thing that has its tentacles wrapped around this guy's throat. Let's jab it and see what happens. So you get some very dumb decisions that obviously are abetted by this.
Okay, to be fair, if the 3 of us were on a fucking ship in the middle of space and one of us had an alien wrapped around our face with the cord around the neck, you'd be like, all right, can we just cut it? No? Okay. Oh, dripping acid. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's leave it alone.
Yeah. It's well, let's
see how this plays out.
Let's give Sean the face hugger a few minutes here, and we're going to let's put this thing in drive.
Let's keep the party going.
And so basically, this alien, which will be known as a Xenomorph, will get loose and wreak havoc. So eventually it falls on Ripley to mount the defense against this creature. So you guys have both seen this before.
Yes.
Yes.
I hadn't seen it
many times.
I hadn't seen it in a hot minute.
Same.
Yeah.
Sexy.
So Sean, what did you think?
I love Alien. I mean, I have multiple Alien posters in my office. I've got a chest burster. It's like the proto Xenomorph, like as it comes out of the chest, obviously. Yeah. I've got that piece. It's like a stuffed animal. It's great. I love Alien. It's such a good movie. It's got all the great horror elements. Mm-hmm. It's Ridley Scott's first horror movie, and it's honestly one of his first movies.
Very early.
Listening to the commentary was really interesting to hear him talking about like how this got made, because he's not a horror director. He's not like, he doesn't do horror. It was he literally was like, okay, we're gonna sit down and it was him and his producer, and he's like, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna watch all of Hitchcock, we're gonna learn how to do horror. And that was his inspiration for doing this. And then he sold it as, I want to do 2001: A Space Odyssey, but like Jaws, basically.
Yeah.
He's like, 2001: A Space Odyssey is what really inspired him to do this movie.
Interesting.
And just listening to them talk about, it was honestly like a pretty low budget. It was high budget, but it was, because what was the budget on this? Like $4.5 million, 11 million. Like, that's not nothing, but it's not a huge budget for like a giant blockbuster. Pretty average budget. They built this ship with mostly like they said it was like discard from like airplane parts.
Yeah,
like airplane parts they just sort of found in scrapyards.
Put that in perspective. The Empire Strikes Back, which is made around this time, filming around the time this was released, had a budget of right at 30 million.
Dang.
So just to put that, give you perspective.
Yeah. I mean, well, and like you said, like to put it into perspective, like sci-fi was kind of the like hot thing. So it was kind of like the new thing that everyone was doing. And it was kind of like a cheap, like you said, critics weren't really receptive to sci-fi at the time, but now you look back and like Alien was a fucking badass movie.
Yeah.
There's the artwork being I thought was H.R. Geiger, is apparently H.R. Giger. They said it in the commentary. It was H.R. Giger, the artist. Are you familiar?
I've heard the H.R. Geiger.
Yeah, he did the artwork for like Brain Salad Surgery, the Emerson Lake and Palmer album. If you're familiar, he did all the concept art. This was originally Dune, Jodorowsky's Dune. If you're familiar with the movie that never got made, it was Giger did all of the concept art for that, but that movie never got made. So that concept art got translated, a lot of it, into Alien.
Huh.
Yeah.
So he does really cool artwork. Look up some of his stuff. Really horny guy, like most artists are.
Same.
Yeah.
But he heavily inspired. He designed basically the prototypical face hugger. He designed the prototypical like Xenomorph. All of the Alien ship stuff was based off of Giger's work. It was all of the just like set design for all of like the Alien pieces of it.
Yeah,
incredible artistic work. There's so many pieces of this movie that are just great. I mean, this is iconic for a million reasons. But Sigourney Weaver, amazing actress.
Yeah.
She is perfect acting. She is like the biggest like female just hero, and it was way before her time, or before anybody's time. She was doing it 10 times better than anybody else.
Yeah,
she's great. The acting there is great. The story is great. The artwork is great. I think hearing how they pulled off this movie was incredible. Yeah. Just like hearing all the bits and pieces. Like they said, the scene where they were going out and there's all the eggs, everything is just foggy. Apparently they just had like 10 people with incense burners just like going around the room, and then Ridley Scott himself with like a piece of cardboard just wafting it around so it'd be perfectly uniformed fog. Like just stupid stuff.
Had to be the mellowest set ever.
Oh, it was 1979. They were high as fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was I love this movie. Alien, I could watch it, once a year.
Yeah.
It's definitely a rewatchable movie. You see more. I think if you rewatch it, this is definitely one of the movies that deserves rewatches. Yeah. You pick up on stuff. Like the scene with the chains in when he's like looking around trying to find the cat.
Yep.
And the chains are just like dangling, and then you just see the Xenomorph just like dangling in the chains.
Yeah.
And he's looking up. He's like he's getting rained on by the condensation or whatever. And he's got his eyes closed. You just see the Xenomorph like dangling above him.
That's one of the first things. That's one of the first things I noticed, and I was like, "Boy, he's really just enjoying this water."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's not even water, man." I was like, "What are you doing?" And I thought about why is this scene so long?
Yeah.
Like him just like getting like that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a slow burn.
Yeah.
Slow burn. The one scene in the commentary that made me crack up is they're going into the room with all the eggs, and it zooms in on one of the eggs, and you just see all the droplets like going up.
Yeah.
Up. And it's
so
going
cool.
up. And Ridley Scott goes, "Those are going up. That's because it's hanging upside down." Yeah, no shit. I don't think you actually like reverse gravity, dude. Like, you filmed it and then you turned it upside down. I was like, good job.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good job. But I also found out that it was his hands inside the egg when you see stuff moving. It's literally just his hands just doing stuff inside the egg, like little puppets. Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah. So what would you give it?
10. Easy 10.
Yeah.
Alien is a fucking great movie. If you haven't seen it, you need to.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same on that. It's like I even texted our counterpart who might still be stuck in concrete, and Travis, and said this. I was like, man, I always forget how good this movie is. Yeah. And I was like, it's something that I don't think to rewatch it. It's just not one of those things I'm like, I want to watch Alien right now.
Yeah.
But I need to.
Well, because it's one of those movies that in your mind, it's bigger than what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's turned into something so much bigger.
That is true.
But you go back and watch the first one, you're like, fuck.
And I think that's it. I probably haven't seen this one in forever. And I think it's maybe been on TV sporadically. And I'll just turn it on and be like, oh yeah, I remember that. But I remember as a kid, I think my parents maybe rented it or watched it. And I remember that iconic scene coming out. I'm like, what is this? But never really followed up with it. But I remember that scene more than anything else of that movie. Yeah. Just jumping out of the chest. Burster. Yeah, that is the most. I
think the first introduction I had to that was when I watched Spaceballs as a kid. And there's the scene where they're in the diner and he gets the soup and he has the chest burster come out and he does the little, hello, my baby. Hello, my darling.
Yeah.
But that was, that was the first introduction. So I knew what it was because that was all the rage. And I think Aliens 2 was coming out, or had just come out. When did it come out? When did Aliens come out?
86.
86. So I would have been 3 years old. But I remember seeing that as a kid, the chest burster scene.
Yeah.
And then I remember watching it and being like, oh, that's a good movie. Don't really care about it. And then watched it again, and I was like, oh, this is a good movie. Then watching it here, I'm like, God, this is just a great movie. And I know that whatever I watched streaming wise could have been edited or anything like that. But for 1979, whatever, I mean, that's pretty fucking impressive.
It's almost all practical effects.
Yeah. And I was like,
everything is
it's pretty impressive. And I was like, I know they could redigitize whatever, but it was and then I'm watching it, I'm like, man, you know what? This acting is really freaking good, and they really do make it violently suspenseful. And it was they really do make you well, what the hell is about to happen here? And it was
listening to the commentary, I couldn't hear the music or anything, but I hear Ridley Scott just going, yeah, and you can tell here it's really quiet, so something's going to happen.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, well, great,
yeah,
good job, director.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, but it was but I thought the acting was good. The whole set. I kind of just forgot how everything looked.
Yep.
I'm like, damn, man, this set looks really, really good. And one of the first things I thought when I was watching this was did the Matrix just rip this thing off completely? Because there were times where I was like, man, this feels like the Nebuchadnezzar and the Matrix. It was this. That's how it feels. I mean, kind of
kind of claustrophobic.
Yeah, and it was and I was
real utilitarian.
Yeah, I was man, this is kind of weird, but I don't know. I was just so impressed watching it this time, and maybe I was just in the right mood, but it was like it just blew me away, and I'm like, man, I was just more and more impressed by it.
Yeah.
So I mean, dare I say it's gotten kind of like a wine. It's gotten better with age.
Yeah.
It was like I've become more impressed for what they were able to do. But like, even if this film came out now, it's like I would still be like basically impressed. I mean, the graphics might look a little bit better, but I'm like, man. Still solid acting, and the storyline's pretty good.
But I don't think there's anything in this movie that like they used effects that would have looked better if they were CGI. Like everything they did looked great. Except for maybe like a few like
the ship exploding at the end was
well, but that was classic time though. That was just like the ship. Okay, to be fair, that is we're just gonna have this big orange explosion.
There is one scene where it's like the part where she blasts the ship exhaust on the alien, and there's just water falling. And the guy on the commentary was just like, yeah, I just really it's plasma, but really it's it's just water. But I wanted it to look like plasma falling and like plasma coming out of the exhaust. I'm like, that's not a thing. You just made water come out for no reason.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
That was dumb.
Yeah.
But other than that,
I did like when they beat the robot up. It was like all the
they beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And then turned his head back on.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But and I did love that it was called Mother. I don't know. I thought it was I loved rewatching it. I'm like, fuck. This is now a film that I could probably continue to watch. Yeah. And it was like, man, it's just, and again, you could call it like a horror film. Like, I mean, it's hard to, the question is like, is it hard to now when it has so many sequels and prequels and secondary offshoots? Is like, can you even call it a horror film now? It's like, because I think at the time you probably could have called it like sci-fi, kind of. I don't know.
Sci-fi and horror always get grouped together, categorically. Like they're kind of like the cast-offs of every other genre. There's drama and action, comedy, and they're like, sci-fi and horror. This one really treads both. Yeah, it kind of lands in both.
And I think that's why I liked it. It was like, man, this is kind of like violently suspenseful. It's like, man, like, there is something out there to get them, and there's an evil entity out there to get them. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. It's like, but could you even classify that now, knowing what has become of this film?
Yeah. But what was interesting is the commentary was recorded in 2003, right? And Sigourney at one point in the commentary was like, yeah, there's really an appetite for like a fourth Alien. Like people really want to see a fourth Alien. Knowing full well that in 2012, Ridley Scott goes back to the well and creates Prometheus. Yeah. Because he talks about like, people want to know about like where this thing came from. That's the question I always get is where did they came from? Where did they come from? Like clearly he got paid enough money to go make the movie where like he answers the question of where it comes from. Yeah. And he's been a producer on, I think, all of the Alien movies in all the franchises. So he's, or at least executive. Yeah. Oh, he's made bank off of this movie. Yeah. Because it's spun off into, like you said, so many sequels, prequels, spinoffs. I haven't watched the latest one, the Alien Prometheus.
Romulus.
Romulus. Sorry, Prometheus is the 2012. Yeah, Romulus, I've heard is really good. But
so, Tay, what would you give this one?
I'd give it a 10. Yeah. Like if you were to ask me, if you were to ask me, maybe without even rewatching it, be like, oh yeah, I'd say it's probably a 8 or 9. I was like, I remember really liking it, but after now, I'm just like, yeah, it is such a great, perfect, iconic movie with both genres. It's like sci-fi and horror. Yeah, in my opinion. So. Which
is funny because it had one of the most famous poster or trailer taglines in history, which is "In space, no one can hear you scream."
Yep. Yeah.
It's like that.
That was the tagline for this movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Damn.
That hooked a lot of people. Yeah. That's one big factor in why it grows so much money. Is that's a great way to pull people in. Jaws in space.
Yep.
Yeah, me, I'll give it a 9.5. I think it's like, obviously I agree.
Come on. Come on.
I mean, I'm right up there.
Round it up.
That might be the highest grade I could ever give a horror movie, outside of maybe The Exorcist.
Bitch. What'd you give The Exorcist? Did you give it a 10?
That might have been a 10, yeah. So this is right up there with it. And for me, the distance between 9.5 and 10 is not that great, not that huge. But yeah, this is an iconic movie. I mean, it's like the chest bursting scene is like one of those iconic scenes in movie history, not just horror history. Ripley, she is and becomes even more so later one of the great action movie heroines. And also, props to Ridley Scott for making like a very damp looking future, a very dour looking future.
It's gross.
I have in my notes, like everything looks like it's leaking and dirty and everything's poorly lit. The whole movie has that, like you said, the Matrix kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a very drab future.
On the chestburster scene, they all said like they didn't really know what was going to happen.
They were not prepared.
They were kind of like separated when they were preparing for the scene, and then they came and did the scene. So a lot of those reactions are like kind of genuine.
Yeah, the screams and the terror. Yeah, that was they didn't know. So when the thing jumps out and they all like get back, it's like that's real.
Yeah.
So pretty crazy.
They actually had someone die. They burst someone out of his chest.
Amazing.
It's crazy. It's
such commitment.
Shit's crazy.
Yeah, the good old Hollywood days.
Yeah. They just don't make them like they used to.
They just don't make them like they used to.
So the film's slow burn may be a little bit too slow for some people. That build up to the end.
It's not a long movie.
It's not a long, but there were some like longer scenes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And that might be the only thing I would ding it for a little bit is that it is a little bit at 116 minutes. It feels a little bit long. That's just me.
Sure.
And that's why I would pull it down to a 9.5.
Modern day TikTok audience, you can't be doing that.
Exactly.
I did like when she was reading the instructions for the or for the detonation, the termination.
She really read.
She was
that
like,
thing.
okay, so 10 minutes, okay, but at 5 minutes I can adjust it.
Yeah.
Okay, and why was it like so pristine? Like I did find that hilarious when she was.
And
I was
the
like,
buttons are just like they're pictures of like dogs and just like boop, boop, beep, boop, boop.
I don't know why I thought it was so. That one did make me kind of giggle of all this stuff. Like that is the most pristine termination like thing. I was like, well, okay, all right, whatever.
And it was a missed opportunity when she was at the end. She's like, you bitch.
Yeah.
To instead be like, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
For one-liners. There's a missed opportunity here, and there's another missed opportunity in Total Recall for a good one-liner. We'll get to that later.
There.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, they really missed a one-liner opportunity.
One thing that was interesting to me is when Ridley was talking about the whole B plot of the robot that turned out to be a person. One, he called it a replicant, and that stood out to me because did he produce?
He directed Blade Runner.
He directed Blade Runner. That's what it was. Okay. Yeah, he called it a replicant, which I thought was interesting. And then two, he said that every movie back then there was like a category of films that had like it was a Russian spy plot point where there just turned out to be a Russian spy on the mission that was trying to change the direction or like sabotage the mission.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like the old world.
It's like that's just like of the time. Like it's the 70s. Of course, there's a Russian spy subplot.
Yeah.
And that's like what this was.
It's like the World War II movies where like there's a German spy. Say, oh, yes, we find the alien.
Yes.
It's so beautiful.
Yes, we must preserve the aliens.
It's like, excuse me, I'm bleeding milk out of my mouth.
Gross.
Exactly.
Yeah, that guy was milky.
Yeah. He was very milky.
So milky.
Sweating milk.
Yeah.
Spitting milk. Sweating milk.
Had that half and half coming out of his pores. Grody.
Aren't we all?
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've had too many White Russians.
Getting past that White Russian fizz.
I've been there.
That eggnog sweat.
Yeah. Travis can tell you about that P-Dutch sweat.
Creamy.
Travis Bud is brought to you by Pennsylvania Dutch. The eggnog, not the community.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He would make a great Amish,
He would.
That's why he's building a new porch.
Yeah, so he's building an above ground pool. Looks a lot like a barn.
Yeah.
So this has been another episode of Cinema Vino. We got Leonard Kreusch, Riesling, the cabinet, off dry white, very acidic, very food friendly. I'd recommend for anybody who's looking for kind of a lighter bodied.
Does this come with a bottle of Pepto or?
Yeah, you're gonna need Tums after.
Yeah, little spicy.
Use the Tums,
especially when you get into your 30s and 40s, and Tums becomes your friend. So
it's an 8.5 alcohol.
Yeah, it's lower.
It's real low.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, it's like they
stiff beer.
That extra sweetness. It's like as the sweetness goes down, the alcohol comes up. so that sugar stays in there.
Yeah.
Instead of becoming alcohol. So that's why, like, you'll see a Moscato that's like going to be 6%, 7%.
That's sweet.
Yeah. It's a trade-off. You get sugar instead of booze, which I'd rather have the booze.
Yeah,
that's
same.
me.
I'd rather have booze.
Yeah. But there's been another episode of Cinema Vino, and we thank you guys very much. Great movies, only drunker. Tune in next time. I don't remember what the hell we're doing next time, but we're doing something.
Blade Runner?
Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Blade Runner will be our next movie. Sci-fi classic.
Yeah.
Same
Ridley
time period.
Scott.
Yeah, Ridley Scott.
Brought to you by Edward James Olmos.
Exactly. So say we all.
So say we all.
So tune in. We got Taylor Owens.
Yo.
Sean Jordan.
Hey.
My name's Todd. See you guys next time.
Bye.